We all know football season is the greatest time of year, but drafting season's a very close second. So whether you're drinking and drafting with your boys for your annual home league or preparing for your next high-stakes draft, the top priority remains the same: winning, and more specifically, winning money. And what better way to do that than by drafting a beauty? That's why you've got to check out our brand new draft kit at Awesemo.com, created by experts who have profited over $7 million playing fantasy sports. These guys are going to help you crush your drafts this year with tools like the Draft Wingman that's powered by projections from the #1 ranked daily fantasy sports player in the world, Awesemo himself, and includes a one-of-a-kind recommendation engine that takes into account your prior picks to ensure a well-rounded team and optimal draft. Draft Wingman is also outfitted with best ball-specific recommendations, including our stack highlighting feature, which helps you complete your all-important best ball stack. If you're looking for more details, or maybe you're already down to join us for an incredible NFL season, click the following link and use the promo code WR, that's WR, to get the entire draft kit for only $9.95. We'll see you over there.
What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel, and we are taking a daily look at the ongoings of training camp, preseason, giving you all the fantasy relevant news. Of course, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We've been giving you the biggest 3 to 4 pieces of news every day. Yesterday, we had Travis Etienne rolled out for the season, or at least most of the season. And this morning, we had Sony Michel traded from the New England Patriots to the Los Angeles Rams. And because there's a lot of moving parts with that trade, we are going to spend each of our segments discussing the fantasy relevant players within the trade. So first and foremost, the trade occurred because Cam Akers goes down for the season with a torn Achilles. Daryl Henderson sprains his thumb, showing his vulnerability in the preseason. He's been injured many times throughout his career. And Los Angeles had one of the shallowest depth charts at running back in the NFL. So the trade makes sense. Now, the big fantasy contributors. Daryl Henderson, he had been creeping as high as the 4th round in early best ball draft seasonal leagues. Now, this takes some of the wind out of his sails. Daryl Henderson still likely plays a major role for this team. We're talking third down specialist. Sony Michel hasn't shown much pass catching prowess in the NFL, but he is going to have his wings clipped a little bit, with Michel likely taking some of the early down work, potentially touchdowns, and overall just mixing in for more volume. With Sean McVay, even when he had the bell cow back in Todd Gurley averaged just over 70% of the snaps, which creates room for another back within the offense. So right now we're bumping up Sony Michel significantly. He'll go inside the top 10 rounds now. And then you have a player, Daryl Henderson, likely going to drop. Now, this renders Jake Funk, Xavier Jones, basically undraftable in seasonal leagues. Should probably ignore them in best ball too. But there's another team involved in this, New England. What happens with the fantasy players there? This was looking like a nasty timeshare for all of the New England backs. Damian Harris, a darling in the fantasy community.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Live Before Lock show here, preseason edition sponsored by Prize Picks. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm going to be helping you guys all the way up to lock, but I'm not going to be the main giver of the information because we've got somebody who can do that. We've got a guy who's been grinding in the streets and will be grinding all the way up until March Madness. We were just talking about how he will be only eating tuna and the occasional sandwich, I suppose, on his Saturday nights. What an absolute festivity you put on Saturday night. You had a sandwich and went to bed early. My guy, Matt Gajewski. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for the kind words. Been grinding a lot, and we will continue to do so through college football, NFL, college basketball. But we have our last slate of preseason action here. I'm really excited for it.
How was college football yesterday? Because I don't know about you, but Illinois was fantastic. I loved everything about that.
Yeah, it was really good. Went 3-0 in bets, made a good chunk of change playing DFS. So I love those low-level games. Yes. And having college football back, man, it feels real.
It feels real. It is that time of season. It is August 29th. We have last weekend here. This is our last NFL preseason slate. We basically get a nice little weekend off. We'll call it a weekend off before we get to Thursday. And then we, of course, have week one. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're getting ready to rock here. NFL content coming out all the time and college football content. Betting you. Check out Matt Gajewski, Ben Rasa on their podcast every Wednesday night. That's getting hit up. Make sure you check it out because they smashed bets. They gave you all the good DFS info. Be checking that out every single week. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to know college football, hang out with those dudes. Rowdy Tellez just hit a home run. Let's go. I'm in such a good mood. I love baseball so much. This is actually going well. I don't even know what to do with my hands. What do I do with them? All right, we'll get to football. That's probably the right thing to do. We're going to go game by game here because we have the opportunity to do such. We have 4 games here on this slate. We have a couple of just super obvious spots, specifically at quarterback, where you're going to see somebody 65% owned, 70% owned that makes me want to throw up right now, but we'll get there, of course. Let's start, though, with Miami +2 at Cincinnati, 36 total points here in this one. Looking at the quarterback position, we know that it's going to be Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa come the regular season, but today, who are we looking at from quarterback here in this one?
We're probably not looking at either team. Joe Burrow is going to play a little bit today, so they have 4 signal callers in Cincinnati. Miami is going to use 3. Tagovailoa played a ton in week 2. He played 37 snaps. I don't think they use him as much today, especially because a lot of their receivers are still hurt. So this isn't a situation where I really want to target either quarterback. There's plenty of spots where we have 1 or 2 players available for a team, and these teams have 3 and 4. So just not a good spot at quarterback outside of maybe a tournament to a Tagovailoa.
All right. And so, yeah, tournament Tua said that they're not expected to play a ton here in this one from what I had saw earlier. I didn't even have Tua in my pool. Should I have him in my pool?
In tournaments, maybe the large ones, but I think there's better options.
Yeah, there's one for the Las Vegas Raiders. And again, I just can't even talk about it right now. Let's go to running back. Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown. I don't think they're expected to play here from the Miami side. I'm looking right now. It doesn't seem like it. I didn't have them in my pool either. Had some Ahmed, Salvon Ahmed, anybody else that really sticks out? Patrick Laird, people love to click his name just because it's like the fantasy football guy. He's done some good stuff for the fantasy folks in the past year, but anything really stick out to you in a meaningful way?
Not for Miami. They'll have 6 backs, which is just too many to target on today's slate.
Agreed. That was lovely and concise and allows us to move on to the other side of the football here.
No nonsense, man.
Dude, I absolutely love it. So we've got Williams with the lovely Q tag next to him. He will not play. He did not play on Fridays. So that was on the 18th, 2 weeks ago. So I just got to assume he's not going to play again here. Williams Jr. still has the hamstring issue here for him as well. This could be a more condensed situation at running back than typical here from Cincinnati. Do you have any kind of interest in going to any of these cats?
Not a ton. If I do, it would be Williams. They're going to play Mixon and Pirine a little bit. And with Burrow actually playing in the game, you maybe see more than the 5 and 6 snaps they played last week. But Trevion Williams, a guy who hasn't played yet this preseason, he's on the roster bubble battling a guy like Chris Evans. And we've seen Chris Evans a ton already. He played 33 and 27 snaps in the first 2 games. Beat reporters seem to think Trevion is going to get extended run. But again, you have to click his name based on beat reporter, coach speak type things, not the fact that there's few running backs. They will play with 5, maybe 6, depending on Puka Williams. Buka Williams was healthy last week, only played 1 snap. So I don't think we see a ton of him, but it's still a huge situation. Like a lot of running backs to target. I would only have Williams in tournament lineups. Evans is a good pass catcher. I just don't think he's going to get 33 and 27 snaps with as many healthy bodies as they have now.
All right, let's go to wide receiver then. Seems like quarterback, running back, maybe not the most interest. Looking at the Miami side here, looking at some of their targets from week 2 preseason, we saw a lot of running backs get some targets there, Myles Gaskin and such. I think from a tight end perspective, perhaps Gajewski, if he ends up starting and playing here, maybe that's a spot to go to. From a wide receiver perspective, though, I don't see a lot from Miami here either.
I think on Miami, there's maybe like a couple spots you could target. They are pretty banged up. Devontae Parker, he hasn't practiced. Lynn Bowden got put on IR. Alan Hearn's on IR. Isaiah Ford on IR. Albert Wilson didn't practice. Robert Foster's on IR. So there's a lot of players that we might see. Even a guy like Preston Williams just came off PUP. Do they want to play him today? I think maybe you see him for a little bit. Will Fuller only returned to practice 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. So depending on who's active, you might see a hyper condensed opportunity share for Miami. We just don't know yet. So I think having players like Mac Hollins and Malcolm Perry on standby is a really good idea. And they should be in your tournament lineups anyway. But there's a chance that they're even more attractive plays when we get inactives today.
How about Jalen Waddle? So a rookie that's gaining a lot of attractive. It's got a Q next to him here. Starter's not expected to play a lot. He's likely to start week 1. Obviously, those are important things to know. But any desire to go after him whatsoever if they're trying to give him some extra run getting set to go for this season?
Not too much. He almost got hurt in their second game. And I think there's just situations where you can have condensed opportunity shares, and Miami's not going to be one. And if it does become more condensed, Waddle's not going to be the beneficiary of it.
All right. So let's go to the Cincinnati side here. For me, I see guys like Mike Thomas, who saw 3 targets. We saw Trenton Irwin get 6 targets, only had 2 catches for 24. When I see gaudy target numbers like that, at least I have the idea that there's a potential for them to have some untapped upside. But anybody really stick out to you from Cincinnati?
I think we're going to see their starters run a little bit more with Burrow playing. So that doesn't necessarily mean I want to target them. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd played 9, 9, and 10 snaps respectively. But if they play a little more, it is going to sap some of the upside from guys like Auden Tate, Trent Taylor, Stanley Morgan, and Trenton Irwin. And if you are getting to a back end of the roster guy, I think it's probably an Auden Tate or Trent Taylor. Trenton Irwin had all those targets, but only played 13 snaps. So it's just not that much opportunity for Irwin. And with all that said, I still think there's more condensed opportunity in some other spots. So I don't know if getting to a Cincinnati pass catcher is going to be the wisest idea today.
All right, Miami. So Mike Gajewski, if you're going to be kind of careful with starters here in this spot, you got to assume he's not going to be so much the guy. Hunter Long, Durham Smythe, Keithan Carter did not play last Friday, but another guy who is on the roster, it looks like still. But Hunter Long is a lock to be in there, it seems like. And Adam Sheehan, is there anything from tight end that we could try to target here? It looks like Carter is questionable and Sheehan is too. So it's a pretty condensed tight end pool here from Miami.
Yeah, with those guys, so they actually have 7 tight ends on the roster. 2 of them are hurt. Gajewski, I know. They're one of those teams that likes to keep their tight ends like the Bears. But Chris Myrick led the team in snaps at the tight end position with 27. I don't think there's going to be someone that gets a lot more than that. And it's kind of the same mantra for all of these players and these position groups for these 2 teams. There's just other situations where you can get more condensed opportunity. In my cash lineup, I don't have anybody from this game.
I was just kind of going through this where it seems like it's a mixed match and you're getting just enough play from starters here. We have other places where we have extremely condensed spots, specifically quarterback. We'll get there and everybody will know what we're talking about. But defensive side of the ball here, if we're not going to be playing any offensive players, you got to think that defense is probably not the worst spot to be going to here. Dolphins, Bengals, pick one.
I will pick the Dolphins. Don't feel great about it. It is because we're going to see Burrow today. Probably not much, but the rest of the game will be Brandon Allen, Kyle Shermer. Neither of them are mobile. If they're throwing the ball a decent amount, you have some turnover opportunities. But there's a team that's going to be facing Nathan Peterman for a whole game. Like, there's good defenses to target. So outside of tournaments, I'm probably not getting a lot of this game at all.
Yeah, my main tournament lineup has both of those things. It has the quarterback and it has the defense on the other side. I think that that's going to be something. There could be some leverage to be had by doing it because Nathan Peterman sucks. All right. Anything else from this game? It seems like the most stay away game here on the board is the first one.
Yeah, just tournaments. I think Trevion, Chris Evans, and GPPs for running back can be targeted. Auden Tate, Trent Taylor, Stanley Morgan, if you're playing one of the receivers. Miami is a little bit sneaky with their receivers. I could see playing more of them in tournaments, but again, that's going to come down to inactives with, like, they just have so many guys banged up that we don't know whether they're going to play or not. So watch Miami pregame.
Yeah, we're going to watch it here. I've got the old Twitter sphere up here. I know you do too. You're super sharp with news. A lot of college football and a lot of this. Joey Wendell Grand Slam. Good Lord. Okay, enough baseball. But I absolutely love the fact that news is the main driver of how we build lineups here in the preseason. That's your edge. And so we're going to try to keep you apprised of anything we see on Twitter that kind of sticks out to us that we can basically utilize. If there's anything from Miami, if that becomes more condensed, we will definitely tell you. But otherwise, that is the Miami at Cincinnati game. Let's get to the main course here for me specifically, perhaps for you as well. Of course, we got to talk Vegas at San Francisco, plus 5.5 here for Vegas, 36 total points. Every game has 36 total points. So that'll just save me from saying that the rest of the time. But on the Vegas side here, we're not going to see Marcus Mariota. We're going to see 100% Nathan Peterman barring injury. How do we not just lock this cat in today?
He's going to be your cash quarterback, I think. Basically, no matter what. He plays the entire game. He played 80 snaps in week 1, 50 in week 2. They haven't used another quarterback this preseason. They're not going to today unless Peterman gets hurt. Mariota was suited up, but it's only going to be in the case of emergency to Peterman. So you just have a ton of volume. And Peterman, I mean, he's been fine with the volume he has. He passed for 172 yards and a score last week. He actually rushed 5 times for 35 yards, which isn't typically in his repertoire, but it's nice to see at least a little mobility out of Peterman. He's locked in top quarterback play of the day.
And he's terrible, right? He's terrible. Like, he's not good at playing quarterback. And I'm playing 100% of this cat, and I do not feel good about it.
That's okay. It's preseason. Like, I've played Nick Mullins, Ben DiNucci. Like, I don't even think Peterman's the worst guy I've rostered. I don't know if Peterman's the worst player I've rostered this year.
But he's going to play 100% of the game. And I just hate myself because I like to pride myself in being somewhat tournament acclimated to be able to get off the chalk. Contrary to popular, just you don't know this because you didn't play the NBA streets, but I was known as the chalk donkey because I played chalk because it's the best plays on the slate. Sorry about it, y'all. But I absolutely love getting away from it here if I can. I just don't see a path to doing it. I feel like the number of times that you're going to hit on another quarterback that gets this kind of opportunity, it's not enough to justify going off of him.
I agree. I think going overweight on Peterman is a good idea in tournaments. There are options to pivot, but I think the chance that they outscore Peterman are a little lower.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I would listen to you. If we were going to look at another quarterback here in this game, though, I think Trey Lance, with the rushing upside, with the ability he has to possibly play a hat, maybe more. We've seen a lot of coach talk here from Kyle Shanahan saying that the two could be deployed in similar situations here, that you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and him come in the regular season. There'll definitely be packages for him here. But in the preseason, if Jimmy G is going to be their starter here, how much is he looking at playing? And then Trey Lance really being kind of the guy that if you're going to get off Peterman, I would want to probably go to him as my second favorite on the entire day. Maybe Mac Jones, but I'm not positive. How about yourself?
I think Lance is a good pivot. He's one of like 4 quarterbacks I would consider today. And they've been giving him a longer look in the preseason. I don't think he's totally won the job yet, and he still kind of needs to prove himself and show what he has. 29 snaps from week 1, 34 in week 2. The main issue with Lance, and people like to cite his rushing upside and his mobility, he hasn't run really at all this preseason. And 34 snaps here and 1 time last week. They're trying to use him as a quarterback. I know in the regular season, they'll utilize his rushing a lot more. It makes sense that they're not in the preseason. They don't want to get him injured, taking unnecessary hits. So I wouldn't think of him as like this Lamar Jackson level dual threat for preseason games because he just hasn't been that. It's there. It's there for tournaments if you want to target it, but he hasn't shown it, which takes him like out of my cash pool. I don't know. He's a tricky GPP option.
I want to turn this into first take for 1 second, just because you're the guy to ask. Who should San Francisco start week 1?
Probably Lance. He has more upside. I don't think they should have drafted Lance to begin with, but that's a conversation for a different show.
No. We literally have 44 minutes of talking preseason here. I want to know week one. Everybody's tuning in. And of course, we're going to give you all the information as we go here. We just gave you Nathan Peterman. He's the biggest layup of all time. How can that possibly go wrong? But why shouldn't they have drafted Trey Lance?
Lance is a guy that didn't even throw the ball 500 times at North Dakota State in college, where he had questionable competition, questionable passing stats. He was drafted based on upside alone, which is fine, but there were other quarterbacks like Justin Fields that were better picks.
Okay. Well, you could have traded back, but they did not do that. It's full bore ahead with Trey Lance at some point. At some point, he's going to get the keys, and we shall see. But I'm definitely lower on him. I think Mac Jones is going to be pretty decent. I think Justin Fields is going to be really good whenever he gets that job. That's the guy that I think long-term I really want to be there. But from a fantasy aspect, I think there's massive upside, as you said, for Trey Lance. Dual threat can show that. Maybe not today, but I'm going to be playing 100% Nathan Peterman. That's just kind of what I've decided. I was conflicted. I was thinking maybe I'm just going to fade him, and I'm going to do the opposite. Let's move along to running backs here. So let's start with the Las Vegas side here. A lot of dudes that Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, those are your regular season cats. But in this spot, I literally don't know anything else about any of these cats. Emmons, Ragas, Ingold. Actually, Alec Ingold is a name that I am familiar with. Anybody that sticks out to you?
This is a great situation to target. I think across the board, really, every position for LA is pretty thin. Excuse me, Las Vegas, not LA.
Yeah.
And they're going to use just two backs. Last week, they weren't as efficient as week one. So these backs didn't have a ton of snaps, but Trey Ragas, BJ Emmons, and Garrett Groshek, who's kind of like a fullback pass catching hybrid, all should get worked into this game. And I wouldn't call this just a two-man committee because Groshek will get carries. Again, he was like a hybrid fullback third down specialist at Wisconsin. The best comparison I have for Groshek is Kyle Juszczyk. He's used really similar to Kyle Juszczyk as this H-back do-it-all kind of guy. So Groshek is going to play. With that said, Ragas and Emmons are going to handle most of the work, making them pretty good plays. Ragas has outsnapped Emmons in both of the first two preseason games and pretty significantly in week one where it was 40-18. From there, like Ragas is a guy, he's a bigger back. He played his college ball at Louisiana Lafayette. I think he's a strong target today based on opportunity. Emmons a little bit less so. He played at FAU, just hasn't been on the field as much as Ragas, but ultimately I think both of these guys get cut.
Yeah, your projections are pretty spot on with this situation. This is probably, could you possibly play two of these in cash, two of these guys?
I think you could, but there's a situation in New England where I want to take both of those backs. So right now I have just one of them in cash. It's Ragas. You guys can probably gather that. I think he's going to be a strong play today. But again, Groshek's going to play a little bit, so it's not a two-back committee. Like Groshek caught a pass. He had 3 carries last week. None of these guys had double-digit carries last week. So it's not the two-back committee that everybody thinks it is.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. That's good enough for me. Ragas it is. We're going to fire him up here. Let's go to the other side here. San Francisco. They have Wayne Coleman in their backfield. That's always good times. He had 15 carries in the last preseason game. That's a hefty workload. Looked pretty decent. Kyle Juszczyk is obviously there. I would never play him in a million years, I don't think. But anybody from San Francisco to take a shot on because I don't see much.
I think they're going to be pretty deep, and a lot of this will depend on, like, is Trey Sermon healthy enough to play? I don't think his injury is severe, but they're just not taking any chances with him. He did practice this week, which is positive, played 20 snaps in week 1 and then didn't play in week 2. If he's active, he kind of reduces this to a 3-man, 4-man committee, which is pretty ugly. The same situation is occurring with Elijah Mitchell. He returned to practice as well. He actually hasn't played at all this preseason. He's another back from Louisiana Lafayette, but he's a really big, explosive back. If you're playing one, it should be Mitchell, assuming he's healthy. They need to get a look at him after they spent a 7th-round pick on him, drafted him, and he's a back-of-the-roster type of guy. I think Mostert's not going to play. He's been banged up, but watch Sermon, watch Elijah Mitchell. If I was playing one, it would be Mitchell. Don't feel great about it because they're going to have at least 3, if not 4, active today.
All righty. Let's talk on the Vegas side. We've got some wide receiver question mark. Well, here's the main thing. There are a lot of dudes in this wide receiving side, but most of them have not played in the preseason. We have Hunter Renfrow, Henry Ruggs, obviously, Brian Edwards, Willie Snead, John Brown, and all of those guys have not played like much at all whatsoever. Almost none of them got a target last time out either. Didn't play like any snaps. We saw Alex Ellis be the main target there. 5 targets, 4 catches, 41 yards there in week 2. I think he's probably viable, but looking at a lot of these guys, the one guy that I know you keyed in on in your article, and if you aren't checking that out here, well, I guess it's the last one, but check out all of his articles going the entire season because they are sharp as can be. Dylan Stoner looks to be your guy. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, I think he's the least likely to make the roster, which makes him the best play today because Gruden's just going to force feed him on the field.
Yay!
He played 40 snaps last week. I think he's a slightly better play than DJ Turner, who's played north of 32 snaps in both of his games too. Those are the guys I would look to just because they have no shot of making the roster. They also, like Stoner had 3 targets. He only caught 1 of them, but it's a pretty good opportunity for week 2. I think Keelan Doss is also in play. They cut Marcel Aitman, who vacates 26 snaps. They're only going to use 3 receivers tonight. So in 3 receiver sets, it's going to be Doss, Stoner, and Turner. So I think playing 2 of these guys in cash, differentiating between them is going to be really difficult. Turner is more of like your underneath slot kind of receiver. He played at Pitt in Maryland in college. Stoner is like a downfield threat type guy. He played at Oklahoma State. And Keelan Doss has been with the team for multiple seasons now. So they kind of know what they have in Doss, and he's going to get cut more than likely. So you can fire up any of those 3. I would look to 2 of them in cash games if we don't have any injury information that makes someone like on Miami become available or something.
All right. And from the other side of this one, San Francisco wide receiver spot, going through their box score as well. You have a number of guys, Trent Sherfield, Travis Benjamin. I think you brought up Sherfield here a second ago. But then is there anything really to be going to here? Jamichael Hasty, perhaps 3 targets, 3 catches.
Yeah, Hasty out of the backfield. I think they're just going to use more guys. Like last game, they didn't have Raheem Mostert. I don't think they will today. But they also didn't have Mostert. They also didn't have Elijah Mitchell. So Jamichael Hasty played 38 snaps. He's not going to play that many today if these guys return. For receivers, you probably see some Debo Samuel that is, and Mohamed Sanu. Brandon Ayuk is going to miss this game. But really, when you see Debo and Mohamed Sanu for 20 snaps, it's kind of like, the Cincinnati and Miami situation. They're not usable with that volume. And then they take away enough from the other players where it kind of renders them all just middling GPP plays. They probably need like a big touchdown to really get you there, especially when there's like 3 receivers healthy in Las Vegas where they're going to see the entire game. So I don't know about getting to a lot of San Francisco. If I did play one of them, it would probably be either Jalen Hurd or Juwan Jennings, assuming he plays. He's missed practice this week, so watch Jennings. But Hurd's a guy that hasn't played at all this year, didn't really play last year. And I guess he's a lock to make the roster according to their management, but I think they need to see him. So in GPPs, maybe Jalen Hurd, but it's not a very attractive play.
Yeah. Nice little run back with your Peterman 2-man stacks. That's not a real thing. It's just absurd. All right. Let's talk tight ends here. Are there any tight ends on the board from either team? It seems like with Kittle and with Waller, they're probably not going to do much of anything if play at all because it's saying that Kittle is not expected here to play. Do you think he plays here? And then how about Waller as well?
So like Kyle Shanahan has just not been honest whatsoever with playing time for anybody. He said the starters will play a half, maybe less if they play well. So does that even mean Kittle's on the field with the starting group? Yeah. They've played their starters, some of them already, and Kittle hasn't played. Kittle's a guy that dealt with a ton of injuries last year, so I don't expect to see him. But if he's out there and he plays and we see like a quarter from him, I think he's in tonight's like GPP pool. But again, I don't think we see Kittle.
I don't either. And so does that make anybody viable there on the San Francisco side for tight end?
Probably not. Charlie Warner has played the most snaps, but this is a dude that like purely a blocker. So he's not somebody you really want to look to. He had 2 targets somehow, caught one of them for 4 yards. And outside of him, like Jordan Matthews is a good receiving option, but they just don't play him enough. 13 snaps last week. Ross Dwelley is a guy that's a known commodity. I think there's better places to get tight ends.
If Peterman sucks that bad, why the wide receiver he's throwing the ball to? Because he's going to play an entire game, and the wide receivers are very, very condensed. And so in preseason, it really has nothing to do about how good or bad somebody is. I mean, obviously, you hope you can play somebody like Ramondre Stevenson, who looks like he's balling out and can do things, but that isn't always the case. We're targeting opportunity. We're targeting who's going to be on the field the absolute most. It's a playing time game. Do you have anything to add to that whatsoever?
No, like maybe the best play on the entire preseason so far at receiver has been JJ Koski. I forget where he went to college, but I didn't know before the preseason, and he played 70 snaps for the Rams and had like 6 catches because he played every down. So yeah, it doesn't matter how talented they are.
It has literally nothing to do with it. It does not have a college listed for him. You put him in Cal Poly for everybody on the bingo card. Cal Poly, there it was. Enjoy that. Nobody, including his parents, knew where he went to school. Beautiful school, though, I gotta say. Let's finish it out with defense. So Nathan Peterman, this is where I'm thinking about, at least tournament wise. And I don't know how many people are going to do this. Sometimes if you're in Cruncher or if you're on any optimizer, you automatically don't get the defense facing your quarterback. But I have no problem playing San Francisco defense up against Nathan Peterman in the same lineup. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think they're going to be chalk. I like this defense a lot. And there's one other one I'm really interested in rostering. I'm not sure which one I'm going to have in cash yet. But I think Peterman anytime you can go up against him, it's going to be a good play. And he did throw the ball a lot. They passed 24
passes. Yep.
And so like, I think another potentially attractive defense, which I'm not going to get to, is going to be Cleveland versus Atlanta. That's the other one I want a little bit because they are going to be facing just horrific quarterback play in Felipe Franks and Josh Rosen. But unlike this situation, Atlanta just doesn't throw the ball in the preseason. They're out there just like, essentially forfeiting these games. They're running the ball almost every play. And I mean, it makes sense. They're not trying to get anybody hurt. They're not playing anybody good. But when you think about Cleveland, where are the turnover opportunities going to come from the Browns if Atlanta just runs the ball straight into the back of their offensive line every play? So I like San Francisco quite a bit.
So we should be looking at making that on the old betting card using the help of Odd Shopper, should we not?
Are you talking about betting this game? I think you could bet this game. Again, handicapping preseason's really hard. I think finding this below a touchdown, which is where it's at right now, is probably pretty good because you're going to see Garoppolo and Lance, and the Raiders aren't going to play anyone that even remotely resembles a starter. So I do like that. It's a lot of points, but that would be where I lean.
Yeah, 5.5 isn't that extreme, kind of a awkward number there. I'm happy to be going to San Francisco on this side of it, I think. Just thinking ahead, and then we'll talk week one. Well, we're going to have so much week one coverage here coming up. Of course, on the defensive side, do you want to talk about the Raiders defense whatsoever?
No, they're going against Garoppolo and Lance. In tournaments, sure. In tournaments, I'm not ruling out any defense. Like, just put them all on there because, I mean, even with the 49ers, you're going to see snaps from Nate Sudfeld. I mean, there's turnover chances there, but it's less likely with Garoppolo and Trey Lance playing a lot of this game.
Yeah. A lot of coaches just don't care about the preseason unless their last name is Harbaugh, in which case they just win every time and you print money. Good times, also good times.
And you get Dobbins hurt.
Oh God. I can't even rip. Absolutely rip. That was the first one that I think really affected me in best ball, but we're going to live. We're going to get through it. We're going to keep going. I also know that Awesemo Plus NFL Annual Pass is something that is going to keep on going, and you want to be a part of right now for 15% off with the promo code BLITZ. It's a full season's worth of Awesemo Plus player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, premium slack, and so much more. As an added bonus, also includes the projections for today. So if you want to sign up right now, you want to get those projections. I mean, his college football projections yesterday just raked in all the money. Thank you so much for that, by the way. Awfully enjoyable. His preseason stuff's been pretty spot on too. So Matt Gajewski over there, get his preseason stuff by signing up with promo code BLITZ, 15% off there on your screen for the Awesemo Plus NFL Annual Pass. It's the last day that we're going to be offering this discount. You need to check it out. Promise you will not be disappointed. And of course, Prize Picks. Let's talk about our partner Prize Picks over here too at the halfway point of our show. We have Prize Picks right now. You don't have to deal with sharks, optimizers, mass entries, any of that stuff. Pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 players available on the board for all of the sports. You can basically go to any sport that is available out there. And when NFL starts up, anything there, but WNBA right now and esports, in addition to MLB and, of course, NFL preseason today. Check out all of that with the App Store, Google Play. Download it now. Use promo code Awesemo to receive a $100 instant match deposit bonus. Hard to beat that deal. I'm going to pull up Prize Picks here right now. Actually, is there anything that you saw on Prize Picks today? Because there have been some soft lines. There's been some very, very nice lines if you know where to look. Is there anything that really sticks out to you based on who we talked about? Like Trey Regis right now, 36.5 rushing yards for him. We've got guys like Malcolm Brown for Miami, 21.5. We haven't even gotten there yet, but anything that we've talked about so far that you're like, yes, I want to be invested there.
I like the line on Caleb Huntley, 25.5 rushing yards. It's a team in Atlanta that cut Javian Hawkins, so they're down a running back already. And then we've seen what they try to do this preseason. Again, they're going to run the ball incessantly right into the back of their offensive line, and now they just have one less guy in the backfield doing that. It's going to be Kadri Allison for a few snaps. Caleb Huntley's going to come in second, and then Deontay Foreman's going to clean it up. So you got three backs there, only 25.5 rushing yards. That's a line I really like.
All right. And 7.4 fantasy points for Trey Regis. That is my guy. Scott Beller there in the chat brought up the same thing, same time. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. How do you feel about Trey Regis, 7.4 fantasy points?
I like that a lot. Regis can catch some passes too.
Yeah, it's a nice little bonus there over on Prize Picks. So I love those plays. It's such a nice app. They just got done revamping it too. It's got a really clean look, super easy to download, super easy to try out. Promo code Awesemo, $100 first match deposit bonus. Just check it out. I promise you will enjoy it. All right, 2 more to go here. Then we'll get to some questions here on the tail end of the show. But New England -3 at New York Giants here. Again, 36 points, magic number here. Mac Jones. If I were to play anybody on my angle, if I were to play anybody that was not Nathan Peterman, I think I'd play Mac Jones. How do you feel about him and the rest of the quarterbacks on New England?
Yeah, Mac Jones is getting the Trey Lance treatment where they play Cam Newton a little bit similar to how San Francisco uses Garoppolo, and then they give Mac Jones extra run, just like San Francisco is giving Trey Lance extra run. Mac Jones has had a lot of pass attempts, and he played 42 snaps in the second week. He's still not going to play as much as Nathan Peterman, but I think it does make him somewhat attractive here. Like last week, Mac Jones threw for 146 scoreless yards. Not great, but if he gets a touchdown in there, he'll end up with a pretty good score.
All right, so we definitely are looking on that side of it. Going to the Giants on the other one, I have no interest in even like talking about anybody from the Giants side, specifically because we have Nathan Peterman, we have Trey Lance, and we have Mac Jones. Is there anybody that you might be looking at here?
So there were some quotes from New York that the starters could play minimum of 1/2. If Daniel Jones plays 3/4, he's going to be a great play. Just how much stock do you put into that coach speak? Daniel Jones for 1/2, I think, is right in line with your Mac Jones play, your Trey Lance play. But do we trust the coaches is what it comes down to. I don't think they should play Daniel Jones for 1/2, so he's not somebody I'm looking at a ton, but he has mobility. You could potentially use him in GPPs, I think.
Dookies. Yeah, absolutely not. Do not believe anything that they are saying from that. I got to assume, especially with guys like Saquon and whatever else, like put your team on bubble wrap, put them on ice here in this spot. And not that the Giants are that good of a football team by any means. Put Mike Glennon out there. Have Mike Glennon just enjoy his day. Go out there, throw it around, throw some picks, have fun. It's all about having fun, right?
Yeah. I see people in the chat saying Bruce Arians said the same thing yesterday. I'm not trying to say that Daniel Jones isn't going to play 1/2. I'm saying coaches say this all the time. Sometimes they play 1/2. Sometimes they don't. Your guess is as good as mine. So flip your coin if you want to play him. We don't know how much he's going to play is what it comes down to.
All right, Magic 8 Ball it. Let's get to the running back spot because now we get to talk about some dudes. And I'm pretty excited about the New England side. I think they've just come to fruition time and time again here. J.J. Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson. I like both. How about yourself?
I like them both too. I think you can play them in the same lineup. I think you can play them in the same cash lineup. They got rid of Sony Michel, who was playing a fair amount for this team. And then Damian Harris, James White, they're not going to play a ton, if at all. And then from there, it's just Ramondre Stevenson, just J.J. Taylor. They've essentially played 50-50 between the two. Stevenson, more of your like big bruising back. He can catch passes. They're just not asking him to do that. And then J.J. Taylor gets a lot of targets. So he is giving you that like nice PPR floor.
Love them both. It's impossible not to in this spot. Very condensed. And then on the other side, once again, the Giants, Not there's so many question marks. We have, if you just pull up DK, I just sorted it there. You've got Colliday, Tony, Ross the third, Mac. You got Rice and John on IR. Looks like it's going to be pretty condensed. Dylan down here also has a Q mark. Derek Dillon. Where are we? Got waived, so that's probably not a guy to click on. Anybody stand out here from the Giants side, because it looks pretty depleted on paper?
Even Darius Slayton wasn't practicing early in the week. He only returned 2 days ago. So I don't know if we see Darius Slayton. He should be considered questionable for sure. They said they're going to play the starters. So maybe Sterling Shepard gets a half here based on coach speak. Maybe Evan Ingram gets a half here based on coach speak. I'm still leaning that we don't see a lot of them, maybe a quarter. And that makes David Sills pretty attractive to me. 32 snaps and 40 snaps in their first 2 games. He has outsnapped Dante Pettis, which makes him, I think, a slightly better play than Pettis, but you could look to either of them. The real question, I think, is how much stock are you putting into this Giants first half play for starters? If the starters play the first half, Sills and Pettis are certainly going to take a hit, but it all depends on what you think of the coach speak.
Fun. That's a fun game to play.
You should make this decision for yourself, but I'm in the camp that I don't think they play a full half.
I have to be too. And I think also because if you're playing cash, like, we're definitely playing some cash today. We've got a couple tournaments over here on FanDuel as well, playing over there a little bit, but I think there's just so many better spots to be going to than the Giants. Even if it ends up being a quarter and a half, I mean, you're going to get Daniel Jones out there, Mike Glennon. It's not looking like a super pass happy situation either way. I digress. Let's move ourselves to tight end, because now we have another condensed situation for the New England Patriots. I think it becomes a clear click on Asiasi. How about yourself?
I like Asiasi a lot. He's the only healthy tight end right now. They haven't had Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, or Matt Lacoste. They signed Kahale Warring for a little bit, but then they cut him the next day. So again, it's just Asiasi by himself. We saw this in week 2, and Asiasi played 52 snaps. And he also ran a lot of routes. So he was near the top of this team in routes run. So I know it didn't amount to production, even targets, but the routes run suggests that it could in the future. So I think he's still the top tight end for us to target today.
I agree. I love that play. On the other side, anything from the Giants?
Evan Ingram, if you think he plays a half.
So that's the tournament team in this regard. If you can get some starters out there going up against the New England backups and, maybe starters for a quarter here, but I got to think that that's probably an all right thing to be doing there. But I definitely prefer it's such an easy thing with Hunter Henry, Q Mark, Keen, Fumagalli. Those guys are on IR. Pretty easy for me to click on Asiasi and move on with my day. Let's go to defense here. Which defense do you prefer in this spot?
It's probably going to be the Patriots. Again, I don't think we get a full half of Jones, and we know for sure we're going to see some Daniel Jones, that is, and We're going to for sure see Mac Jones, who's looked good in the preseason. So I think more of the turnover opportunities are going to come for New England's defense. All
righty. That kind of sums it up. Anything else from this game?
We didn't talk Patriots pass catchers outside of Asiasi.
Oh, I'm the worst.
No, you're all good, man. I almost forgot too, but they're pretty banged up. N'Keal Harry's still hurt. Gunnar Olszewski missed practice 2 days ago. Trey Nixon only returned to practice recently. They don't play Matthew Slater. He's only a special teamer. So you have a fairly narrow distribution of targets. And Christian Wilkerson's been a guy they've been trying to evaluate all season. 32 and 39 snaps for Wilkerson. Been a very good receiver for them too. I think he'll continue to get extra run. And there's a big opportunity with Olszewski out. He would vacate 28 snaps if he actually does miss this game. So I like Wilkerson a lot.
Do you see anything with Olszewski? Is he officially out?
No, that was just he missed practice. So he
missed practice on Thursday is what I'm looking at as well.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to double check because I feel like I've clicked on his name quite a bit here as well. But that's kind of it from this game, I think. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think we hit it all.
All right. Christian Wilkerson, put him into the pool here as well. Be on the lookout. We've got some time to wait for that game. So also, I just got hit up by good old Joey Corman here in the old Awesemo Slack. Want to throw this out there too. We have a giveaway. If you head to awesemo.com, awesemo_com on the Twitter sphere, we've got a draft kit and a weekly Awesemo Plus NFL pass if Joe Burrow throws a touchdown today. 33% off a draft kit here. If you want to purchase it, go to the tweet over there. If Jordan Klein can pull that up, perhaps, if there's something that we can pull up on the screen, if you can pull that tweet up or post it there in the old chat. Oh, look at that. Awesemo giveaway got plugged in there. Lovely. So if Joe Burrow throws a touchdown today, we're going to have that giveaway. Make sure you're following us over at the awesemo_.com. That is going to be very helpful for us going forward and helpful for you, because then you can get behind the paywall instantly. Check that out, please. All right. We got one more game to get to here. Then we'll have some time for some questions, some important questions. There are some interesting spots that we have. Cash, feel like the lineup builds itself today. I don't know how I feel about days like that, but either way, Cleveland -6 at Atlanta, 36 total points there. Hey, there it is on the screen. Maybe I'm a little bit behind, but thank you so much to Jordan Klein for pulling that up there. Best producer in the game, named Jordan Klein. No question about it. All right. Cleveland side quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield exists. I will not play Baker Mayfield. Is Baker Mayfield going to play here? Because if he's not, there's only two other guys listed over on DK. Case Keenum of Vikings lore and fame for sure, through the Minneapolis Miracle, my guy. And Loletta, I don't know who that is. Talk to me about quarterbacks here.
Quote from the coach: select starters will play, including Mayfield. So we are going to see Mayfield. I don't think we see him for very long, but it at least takes some snaps away from Keenum and Loletta. Not great. I think we do see some Chubb and Hunt. The starters I don't think we see are Odell Beckham and Landry, both who were injured last year and had offseason surgeries. For the tight ends, I do think we probably see a little Hooper and Njoku. But again, it's not going to be a lot if we get any.
All right. And so that's kind of an easy write-off. Again, Nathan Peterman. Good Lord, I hate myself. Matt Ryan, Franks, Josh Rosen, newly acquired Josh Rosen here from the Atlanta side, says that he's going to suit up. He's ready to rock here. Just joined the Falcons, ready to go. How are we feeling about quarterbacks here?
Like Franks, Rosen's about to get cut next week, so he's not someone we want to play. Franks, he's only interesting because he has dual threat ability. Again, Atlanta's not throwing the ball. They only attempted 15 passes last week. Luckily, Franks has enough mobility to keep you kind of in play. He rushed for 32 yards, but like this team just doesn't care about throwing. Like they haven't even eclipsed 100 yards passing in a single game this preseason. Not because their quarterbacks are bad, they are, but they're just not throwing the ball at all.
Yeah, it's becoming a ground game here for him. You had pointed that out here a little earlier in the show. Let's talk running backs then.
They attempted 15 passes and ran the ball 31 times.
It's just absurd.
It's like a 33% pass rate.
It's not good. I'm going to say that that's like we're going back to 1970 and playing preseason football. So I'm all right with it. It makes it pretty easy to figure out what to do, and that's not play any of those guys catching passes. And if you want to try to pick out who that 1% dude who catches a 60-yard bomb is, best of luck to you. But I think that there's enough other spots to go to on this slate. Probably also a nice under opportunity if you're looking at that. 36 for every single game here. Like, let's slow it down. Let's not get anybody hurt. Let's put Mike Davis on ice. Let's not play Matt Ryan. Good times. Running backs from Cleveland. Chubb, Hunt, write them off. Anybody else that sticks out to you for Cleveland?
They've been giving Dearness Johnson a pretty long look, 24 snaps and 25 snaps. It's just going to be, they are running three guys out there. It's like 2.5 because Demetric Felton plays like half his snaps in the slot, but he's the guy they use on most pass catching situations. I think there's better places to target like New England and Las Vegas, but some of these three-man backfields I think you can use in GPP. So like Dearness Johnson would be somebody to consider in those situations. And I mean, I'll just rattle a few of those kind of situations. Okay. Like San Francisco has one. Cincinnati has one with Trevion Williams and Chris Evans. Those are going to be the GPP backfields for me. And I think Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton fit that mold.
Okay. Atlanta side. No Mike Davis, I'm assuming, and going to the rest of these cats, seems like there's a lot of bodies there. Anything that really sticks out to you?
I think Kadri Allison and Caleb Huntley are interesting. Kadri Allison played 18 snaps in his debut last week, missed week 1. They cut Javian Hawkins.
Yeah.
So he vacates some snaps. And again, this offense ran the ball 31 times, and they didn't run a ton of plays overall because they're so inefficient. If they even just have like an uptick slightly in efficiency, I think Caleb Huntley and Kadri Allison could both be decent. It's a three-man backfield, so it's not going to be like optimal. I don't think you played in cash, but I do think those two are viable in tournaments. Again, Atlanta has no interest in passing.
Again, makes it super, super easy not to worry about, but Frank Darby exists, so we can talk about
love Frank Darby. I wish they'd throw the ball to him a little bit, but
I was just saying, he's the guy that I would want to play from the Atlanta side. How about you?
Yes, I think you could include him in tournaments. Again, we're talking about a 2-game sample. Maybe they do throw the ball more. They really want to get a look at Franks versus Rosen. I don't think they do. They signed Rosen on the 24th, so 5 days ago. He's going to get cut for sure. Franks, I mean,
are you sure about that?
He's been cut like 3 times this preseason.
Oh, but I'm saying AJ McCarron just got put on the IR, so I mean,
they're gonna keep 2, and then one of them maybe goes to the practice squad, and you can be sniped off anyone's practice squad at any point in time. So if he sticks around, it's as a practice squad player, I think. Like they were playing Franks over McCarron already.
Right. Okay, that's understandable. Then I mean, AJ McCarron is not very good either, so there's that. Let's go to wide receivers and kind of round out the rest of this game and move on. We talked about the Atlanta side, actually, so let's just talk the Cleveland side here. We know the usual suspects, but those usual suspects won't be playing very much here today. Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry for sure. Davion Davis is a guy that really stuck out in your projections this morning. How are we kind of analyzing him in this spot?
Yeah, he's a back of the roster guy, and I think he may have played himself into a roster spot. He's suspended for the first 2 games, so if you see him listed as out or something on these platforms, just ignore it. He's active today. The coaching staff knew about the suspension before the preseason, so this is not something that's new to them. He's not going to get any sort of like playing time doc today. He's going to see his normal snaps, and he played 33 last week. I think you could use him today based on that. It's still a fairly deep receiving room. Like I think they'll have at least 7 guys out there. So Las Vegas is still a little more attractive to me, but Davion Davis is like right in that second tier of receiver, in my opinion.
All right. Going to tight end here in this spot then, unless you had anything else you wanted to add from the Atlanta side. I think we covered that pretty well though.
I don't think there's much to talk about with Atlanta.
Frank Darby.
I think we got it.
Frank Darby, click his name, put him in tournaments. I swear to God, the guy's going to, whatever. I'm going to have a little bit of him. Let's go to the tight end spot. Going to Cleveland on this side. For me, it's really Ossie and moving on with my day, but do you want to jam into tight end from either team, should I say?
Ossie's, I think, the best tight end play today. And that is assuming that like Ingram and Kittle don't play a ton. I think they would become better plays if they get halves, but I just don't buy it from their coaching staff. Ossie's the safer play. He's the cash play in tight ends for me. In tournaments, you can mix in the other guys, but I think Ossie in low risk contest is still your best move.
All right. Defenses, Cleveland, Atlanta, pick one.
Cleveland.
All right.
Again, I don't think Atlanta throws the ball a ton, but they're still going to be, facing Josh Rosen and Felipe Franks. So when they do, there's a lot of turnover opportunities. I don't think Atlanta scores a ton today. So Cleveland's still going to be a really good defense.
Yeah, you're going to probably get the 10 points, 7 points just locked up from them not getting a touchdown in the game or something of that nature. More than likely. Somebody asked favorite preseason bet. I think just from our talking, I think the under of this game, 36, seems like a pretty hefty number. Maybe it's a Ravens situation like the Washington football team where they just hit the over by themselves in that game. But how do you feel about the under in this spot?
That would be where I favorite. My favorite bet is the San Francisco one we talked about against Las Vegas, who plays only third stringers.
Yeah, Nathan Peterman. Oh, I love week 3 NFL preseason. It's going to be a blast. All right, everybody. We've got 10 minutes left. We're ready to rock. Get your questions into Premium Slack. Get your questions into YouTube chat. And make sure you also check out the Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit, which is available for season-long and best ball leagues. Projections, tools, analysis, everything we're using for NFL DFS goes into that package on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Also hit subscribe on that. But we have that draft kit, draft wingman, best ball ranking, stacking guide, trade value chart, so many things all the time. Be on the lookout for that. Check it out right now. Everybody's got their season-long drafts coming up this next weekend. It's kind of the lull weekend. It's when most people are putting it together. It is so easy to use that while you're in the middle of your drafts. And if you don't believe me, check out all the videos that we have from Josh Engelman. He's drafted ESPN, Yahoo, Underdog, everything you can imagine with the Draft Wingman. So simple, so easy, and it is the best accessory to help you with your season-long drafts today. 33% off when you use the promo code WR at checkout. That's less than $10 for everything we offer for the season-long and best ball content. Click the link in the description of this video. Activate the offer now. Also, don't forget to check out that tweet that we had. We've got that there. Awesemo_com. Make sure you're checking that out on Twitter. Get in that Joe Burrow giveaway. And if he doesn't play, I believe it was Joey who over there decided that if if it ends up being a backup. So any touchdown pass thrown by a Cincinnati quarterback in the event Joe Burrow doesn't play gets you that W. So definitely utilize that. All right. Corey Clement at running back for cash.
Not in on Corey Clement for cash.
All right. Favorite tournament. It says we plays. I'm assuming wide receiver plays. I think that's probably a good question to have because the cash ones kind of stick out. We talked about Stoner. We talked about Turner. Wilkerson stands out. If you want to take any shots on the Atlanta passing game, I think that's more tournament based with Frank Darby. But who are your favorite tournament plays at wide receiver?
I would like to look at Miami, where you might have a condensed opportunity share just based on injuries. Not a lot of people talking about the Miami situation, so I think that's one. And anytime you can pivot off some of like the high-owned ones, I don't think you'll be able to pivot off of the Raiders ones. I think all three will be pretty heavily owned. But if you want to take a chance on somebody like Sills over like a Slayton and Shepard, who probably will get their names clicked today because of coach speak, I think that's a good spot in tournaments as well.
All right. Will you be playing a herd today?
No.
I will not either. John Kelly, a decent play.
In tournaments.
Okay. I love these rapid fire. This is like my favorite part of doing shows with you for sure. Somebody said, thank you, Matt. He says, thank you back. I'm speaking on your behalf. Thoughts on Schwartz playing time?
He's been hurt all camp and he's a lock to make the roster. I think if he plays, it's limited.
All right. Somebody said Huntley. I'm assuming that's Caleb Huntley. Is he in play?
He is in play.
All right. So Caleb Huntley in play. Running back of the Falcons, for those who do not know, put him on in there. I just made a Felipe Franks lineup. What the fuck is wrong with me? I don't know, Mason Powell, but you seem like a good
fine.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. So you're doing just fine, sir. You're doing great. Jawan Jennings ? That's fun.
He is questionable for the game. Missed practice time this week. So make sure he plays. But if he does play, he's a good option.
Favorite Vegas wide receiver? I'm going Stoner.
It's really tight. You're literally splitting hairs. I would go Stoner, Turner, mix their names together. So let me rephrase that.
I'm ready.
Stoner, Turner, Doss in that order. Slight preference to Stoner than Turner.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. How about that? You didn't get that reference, did you? It's a movie. It's a great movie.
Oh man, I don't watch movies.
I have learned that about you. Is Waddle in play or no?
Waddle's in play for tournaments. I don't think he plays a ton, but he should be scripted for certain plays when you see him.
Let's see. Alex Ellis ?
I think he's like a second tier tight end. He didn't play a ton of snaps, but he saw a lot of targets. So you're hoping that usage continues if you play him. I'd rather get to Asiasi. And in tournaments, I think you could take stabs on guys like Franks for Cleveland or maybe one of the elite tight ends if you think they actually play a half.
Favorite D, anyone? Top two defenses. Let's pick our top two. You got anybody facing Nathan Peterman for an entire game? I'm going to probably make them number one, but go ahead.
It's San Francisco, Cleveland, 1-2.
All right. Love it. Ernest Johnson in play at running back ?
Dearness Johnson for Cleveland. I do think he's in play in that like second tier with the backfields that are going to see three guys. They may see five if you think Chubb and Hunt play. So that's why he's a tournament play.
So somebody said, are we playing mainly New England running backs and Las Vegas wide receivers? The answer is yes.
I'm playing most of those two teams.
Yay. Favorite running. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just trying to count how many players in my lineup are from those teams.
An infinite amount.
Like almost the entire thing.
Yeah. I just entered there's like a tiny $100 spy, and I feel really good about my lineup now because every lineup with Nathan Peterman is the nuts. Taylor or Stevenson or both?
I think both.
But
I would have a slight preference to Taylor because he catches balls, but I'm playing them both in cash.
All right. Favorite running back for San Francisco?
Elijah Mitchell, assuming he plays. They haven't seen him yet, and they need to.
Yes, they do. Chris Evans or John Kelly?
Chris Evans, like the pass catching floor.
Love it. Somebody just hit something else up in Corey Clement. Nope, that was the same question we had before in the premium Slack here. Again, we always try to get to those questions first because they get a little bit more of the priority. That's another great perk of being behind the old paywall. Somebody said Sills in cash.
I had it this morning, but I'm just a little scared that the Giants do play their starters for a half. So in cash, I don't have him. I think he's great in tournaments.
Love it. J. Michael Hasty ?
He's in play if you don't see Sermon and Elijah Mitchell. If you do, I think he's somebody that you don't want to play, particularly in cash. I actually really like his under on Prize Picks. If you were going to ask me for another one, that was going to be it. He's really, his like prop is elevated there because they didn't have Sermon or Elijah Mitchell in the previous game.
The best things in the history of baseball just happened to me. Eloy Jimenez, Yasmani Grandal, Jordan Alvarez. I'm so happy. I could cry. Let's go. 3 wide receivers, okay in cash or in GPPs for, Can you have 3 Raiders wide receivers in one lineup?
I would play 2, especially if you're playing Ragas.
Okay. So 2, we'll make it 2. Cheeseburger or hot dog legalized? Nice question.
Hot dog.
Cheeseburger. You're crazy. What?
Oh,
hot dog over cheeseburger?
Hot dog's my favorite food.
Is that real?
Yeah.
I thought you were the tuna guy.
Well, I love tuna too, but I have a rule with hot dogs. You can only eat them at barbecues and ball games because they're too dangerous for me.
You're a broken person. All right. Miami wide receivers.
Say that again.
Miami wide receivers. Just
okay. So I'll break this down for you because there's a lot of questionable dudes. So with Miami, you're going to have to watch the statuses of Devontae Parker, Albert Wilson, Preston Williams, even a guy like Jakeem Grant didn't practice on the 24th. That was earlier this week. They have held out some of these guys in the past. So if all these players are out, I would rank them Malcolm Perry 1, Mac Hollins 2, Kirk Merritt 3.
Okay, I'm looking
and
right
they
now.
Are better.
This is worthwhile because this locks in 3 minutes. So I'm taking a look.
They are good plays with injuries.
So play the ones that you think are going to be the reserve. I can't imagine
Mac Hollins and Malcolm Perry play a lot regardless, but I think with the injuries, they would start like entering the cash conversation. If some of those guys play, they're just great GPP options.
Somebody said in the chat, and again, it's chat. I'm not sure, but Williams is playing. He's suited up. Okay. Well,
Preston?
I mean, yes, I'm assuming that would be the Williams. Yeah. So that becomes an easier thing to kind of not freak too much out about.
Yeah. I think you play him in GPPs then.
Okay. Awesome. Ragas or Darby flex?
Ragas.
Definitely. Let's see. Sinet or Peterman? Peterman all the time.
Yes.
Not close. Davian Davis or David Stills in a single entry GPP?
I like Stills in the tournament.
Love it. But dude, you're so quick at these. I love it so much. Favorite running back for San Francisco? None of them.
I would play Elijah Mitchell if active.
Okay. Elijah Mitchell if active. That is your answer there. San Francisco wide receivers question mark.
Hurd. No, don't feel great about it.
Yeah, Hurd is it. That's Mr. Peterman. Okay, I'll put some respect. No, he doesn't get respect on his name. He gets no respect. We got 1 minute. Make sure you get your lineups in. We have the 2 games locking here at the 1 o'clock hour. Then New England and the Giants start 2 hours later. Cleveland and Atlanta in the nightcap. Be on the lookout for that. Stoner or Ragas in showdown? Rager.
Both. Ragas.
Yeah, that's what I meant. My brain went to Rager. I don't know why. Let's see. We've got top 3 wide receivers on the day. Go.
Turner, Stoner, Wilkerson.
And it just sounds like you're saying Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy every time to me. That's what it sounds like. Love it. Let's see. Anything else? I think that is going to do it. Again, hot dog. I don't have anything else to say to you.
Dude, I eat a hot dog anytime I can.
Are you going to eat a hot dog tonight?
No, I like when I'm out. I can't buy them, man. I can't buy them.
Because you'll just eat them immediately?
Yep.
All right. Well, you get yourself to the gym. I know we just hit lock here. That's what you're off to go do, Mr. Tuna, Mr. Hot Dog, Mr. Protein. Thank you so much for all of your advice here today. It was fantastic. Any final words for the people or something to look out for in the night games?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for rocking with us all preseason. It's been a really fun, really busy, really intense 3 weeks, but I enjoyed it. Can't wait for the regular season. Hope you all stay around. And if you haven't checked out the college football product, myself and Ben Raza are putting a ton of time into it. So if you're a college football fan or thinking about getting into college football, make sure to check that out.
I'm Eric Lindquist, Matt Gajewski. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys week 1 for the NFL shows. Take care.
Bye.